My name is Marcel Blanchet, and thank you for joining me on another episode of Let's Talk with Marcel. You know, one thing about this job and being on this channel at this point in my career is that I have met a lot of interesting people in my life, men and women. But today's show is on women empowerment. Well, you know, about women empowerment is not just the empowering of women to just work in business or in government or in a life career. It's empowering women to make wonderful choices in life. And today I have a wonderful guest. I'm very proud to have this young lady with me. Her name is Donna Vacarro. She's an entrepreneur. She started an unbelievable computer company with a partner of hers for many years, and then changed careers in another part of her life. And today we're going to talk to her about that and all the other issues with starting a business as a woman and women empowerment and how it is to be a woman in business today. So, welcome to the show. How are you? Donna Vacarro, let's talk.
Okay, Marcel, let's talk.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Marcel, very well.
You know, when I first met you, I was like blown away by this wonderful person that was so intelligent and having, this entrepreneurship that was like amazing. So I need to start right from the beginning, okay?
Wow.
Where did you grow up?
Grew up in Rhode Island.
In Rhode Island. Whereabouts
Yes.
in Rhode Island?
Cranston, Rhode Island.
Cranston.
Not
Okay.
on the water.
Not on the water, okay.
Everybody thinks you live on the water in Rhode Island. I was more inland,
Okay.
but a half hour away. Not bad.
Okay. Well, so you went to high school there?
Yes.
In Cranston High School?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Cranston
And
West.
then after that, did you move right after high school to Connecticut, or how did you get to Connecticut?
Oh, my brother bribed me to come.
Oh, it was a brother. So you have brothers and sisters? Tell me about them.
I have quite a few. There's 6 kids. I am in the middle. So
Okay.
there is a family of 8.
All right, and how's that? Like boys, girls,
Well,
boys?
my mother and father, I don't know how they quite did it, but we all went boy, girl, boy, girl, boy, girl, right down the line.
Wow.
Yep.
So, Sundays must have been a big day.
Sundays were very big.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about this. So, did you, with the family that you had, did everybody sit around the table on Sundays for a Sunday dinner?
Every Sunday.
Every Sunday.
Every Sunday.
What was that like?
Well, the ritual was you got up, you went to church, you went and you got Italian bread, you ate it on the way to go to see your grandmother, you had a huge breakfast, and then dinner was always at 2 o'clock. And everybody was there. You couldn't miss it.
And nobody missed it.
Nobody ever missed it. You'd
Right.
get killed. Your mother would have your head on a plate. But anyways,
So
yes.
tell me about your mom, because she was a strong woman too.
to have 6 kids, and she's
Yeah.
a tiny little lady, tinier than I am. And yes, she just wanted to have kids, and she did. She had 6 kids in the time frame of 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah, so she, very strong lady.
Now, how did her life, your life growing up, get you into this whole entrepreneurship thing?
Well, I think it has a lot to do with just the individual person. You've got to have some type of drive to want to do it. And, when you talk about my mom, she, you didn't sit around. There was jobs always to be done. And, as I got older, you had to get a job. And she's the first one that pushed me into a job. She's going to make a phone call to a friend and say, you're going to go work there, which I ended up going there.
What was your first job?
Oh, customer service at a TV repair shop.
Nice.
And I did that every day after school.
So you were in high school when you did that?
Yeah. Yep,
Wow.
yep.
So you learned about customer service.
That was my first event on dealing with people because, it's like being in the computer industry that I was, it was all about customer service because we repaired computers. That was our bread and butter. And I think that was a great little foundation I had, not even knowing I had built it, because you dealt with people that were upset their TVs didn't work, and that was big back then. You had TV repair shops. Today you throw them away, but back then you had them. So you had all kinds of people calling, happy people, sad people, very mad people, and you just learned to deal with them.
So the customer service thing was a big thing, and you were able to like communicate with people and
Yes.
And try to solve some problems over the phone with them, and then also escalate the problems to a technician, and or have them come into the shop to actually drop off a television.
Right.
Or did you have a guy go out to the home?
They did both. They would go out to the home and or bring them in. Just like computers did way back when, where you brought your computers into a shop to get repaired.
Yeah. So then, after you were working as a customer service person, then what was the next thing that?
Well, it was after high school was over.
Yeah.
And I went to school to do key punching.
Okay.
And that's what started the whole computer thing.
All right.
So I did not go to college right away. I just got a job I went to a tech school, learned to key punch, and moved on from there. Got my first job at a big insurance company, and that didn't last because it's like 20 people sitting there just typing, and I'm one who has to move all the time.
Right.
So I ended up getting a job at another place, and then worked 2 jobs, key punching, and then moved on from there as computer operations. So I did that, and I worked a night shift. Okay. And I did that for a couple of years. So you were a computer
operator. So you were like involved with computers and technology.
Correct.
And that whole thing. What time period was that? What years
I was young. I was in my early 18, 19. I started when I was probably 18, 19 years old, started doing that. And I was there for quite a while. So it started as key punching, computer operator, night shift, day shift, then programming.
You actually were a programmer too?
Yes. Yes,
wow,
I
didn't know that.
That's
interesting.
RPG back then.
Okay, so you're a computer programmer.
Yep.
And you programmed computers.
Mm-hmm.
And so now you had all this background. Where did entrepreneurship come from?
Well, it was just a drive. That's hard to say. It was always a drive. Always wanted to move forward. Always needed to do something different. I couldn't stay in one job, and I can't sit still. So it started when my brother kept on asking me to come to Connecticut.
Okay.
Because he was going through some hard times, and he wanted me to come help him. So that's what I did. So when I moved down to Connecticut, I stayed with him for a little while, and I got a job because that was the only way I was going to come to Connecticut as long as I had a job. And I worked at a small company, a wire manufacturer, and I did everything. Did the key punching, did the programming, did the computer operation. It was a very small, so I did everything there. And then had gotten laid off.
Okay.
And that's when it all started.
So you got laid off, but you were tired of working for somebody anyways, right?
Well, I sort of almost got thrown into the computer operations of self-employment. I got laid off. Didn't want to collect unemployment because back then they beat you up. It was just unbelievable just to get a check. So I never went and did that. And then I had met Dominic at the time, and I was 23 years old. And he was saying, let's start a computer company.
Now, Dominic was your boyfriend back
At
then?
the time. Yep.
Okay, all right.
Yep.
So, and he wanted to start a computer
Yes,
company?
yes.
So how did he be, and
Well,
bring
Dominic
this on?
was extremely intelligent, very technical, extremely technical. And you could give him a book, he could read it, and he could fix a problem. I, on the other hand, learned to be technical only because I had to, but I was more on the sales, marketing, and finance of the business. So I ran the whole business where he was able to do the technical side. So we did start, like I said, I was 23 years old, and it was
So you're 23 years old.
fun.
You're 23 years old.
Yep,
And you met this guy,
yep.
and he says, let's start a computer business.
Yes.
Now, what year was that around?
Good question. 83.
83.
I think it was 83,
Okay.
84.
83, 84. So at that time, the personal computer was just coming out,
Yep, it was just coming out, and I laughed.
and you laughed.
Well, because I came from a mainframe environment where your hard drives were bigger than me. I used to have to stand on a ladder, put them in the machine. A hard drive would cost you $80,000. And here I am looking at these personal computers, and I thought it was, oh my God, people are just going to be playing with them. But they actually had a great function. So then I learned to program in DOS, if we all can remember that way back then, and I started training, and we were repairing and training and selling. We did it all.
Okay. And so was this Shoreline Computers?
Yes, it was.
So this is the beginning of Shoreline Computers.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Rented a little spot in East Haven,
Really?
and we went from 500 square feet to about 4,000 square feet. By our 10th year in business, we were doing really, really well.
Okay.
Very well.
So now, as a woman, starting that business, was there a life-changing moment? Was there a game-changing moment? Was there something that,
Well, it
that
wasn't
happened?
so much in the business. It was before I started, where, as you know, when I worked as a computer operator, I worked the second shift, and the first shift was coming available, was supposed to be mine, and a young man came in, and the MIS director decided that he should be working first shift and not me, because he was a young man and he had a social life, and he coached baseball and all this great stuff, and it was okay that I stayed on second shift and not get promoted to first. And that was probably one of the biggest changes that I had, saying that I had to go into I think I'm only 22 years old, and I had to go in and explain to him that what he did was completely wrong. You can't keep me here because your buddy, friend, is a guy and he has to coach Little League. So that ended up being a huge game changer, and if I didn't speak up, I never would have been able to move into that first shift, and he was moved into the second. Matter of fact, he didn't last very long.
Now, that's a very, very important
Very
message
important.
to talk about. It's important that you spoke up.
Yes,
Took-
and you have to. You have to. There is no way that you will get anywhere if you sit there and wait for somebody to make a decision for you. It was tough. I mean, back then, you didn't do that. I was very young, and I should have stayed in my place, as they would have said.
Now, men did that all the time.
Correct.
So, I mean, this is what is important, that women should speak up.
And a lot do. Today, it's very different than way back then. I mean, even in business, way back then, I'd be doing everything. I was the one who met with the bankers. I was the one who ran the whole office. I managed 30 people, technicians, office people, sales people, everybody. And I would sit at the front desk every now and then and greet customers. And it was really cute. This little old man comes in. He was adorable, though. And he was patting Dominic on the shoulder saying, what a wonderful girl you have working for you. So
Interesting.
And I would just let it go because it wasn't worth, he was paying me. He was supporting my business. So I would just smile.
He was the customer.
He was a customer.
But he thought
that
because you
I
were
was
actually
just
the president.
Actually, I was the vice president.
Vice president, okay.
But I owned 51%, and I worked 24/7 for it. So the reason why we did that, we had to have Dominic be the president, because back then that's what you did. So I became the vice president, but I owned more stock in the company. So this way I could do minority business for the state and things like that.
Okay, so talk about that, because there was a program when you were with your business where you were able to do minority.
You bid on minority.
Wait a second. Women were called a minority.
Correct. Very good, yes.
So
we were a minority.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, it was just, that's what it was, especially in the computer industry. It was male dominated. And it was wonderful because I loved hiring women in management positions, and I did. And I thought it was great because a lot of them, I shouldn't say that. We work harder. We always had to prove ourselves and a little more self-conscious of what we're doing. So having women work with you and for you was actually very refreshing. It was nice because it wasn't the good old boys club, and you could talk freely. Men tend to whine more. Okay. And I don't want to say that.
That's okay.
But they do. They say women are high maintenance. Men are just as high maintenance as women.
I think everybody has issues.
Yeah, everybody.
And
men are no different, although in the work industry they were looked upon differently.
Right.
They could be more in power. And the other worst part about it is if you went to go have babies, you were immediately dismissed from everything. So, it is what it was and not anymore.
Now, talking about babies, you're also a mother.
Of 3.
3.
And I had all 3 while I was in business.
And what was that like?
Very difficult.
Yeah.
Because you love your kids to death, but you have to make a living. So my girls are extremely independent girls. They can think independently, and that's the way I raised them, to be that way. I don't know how to say it. It's hard going through those years, but you're younger and you just do it. You just do it. You just get through every year, and you watch them grow, and you continue to grow yourself, but you put certain things aside. It's not so important to go to that cocktail party because you want to stay home and be with kids.
Right.
So, and I went through each kid. I had babies like days before I left the office. So it was interesting. And one of a very important contract that I had going, and I did all the negotiation for it, and I was about 6 months pregnant. Now I'm tiny, so when I was 6 months pregnant, I looked like I was 10 months pregnant. So when I went to that meeting, they were all men. You had the CFO, the MIS director, the CEO wasn't there, but all the managers, and I'm making a presentation, and I had to take Dominic because I called it a suit. I said, I need a suit with me because if I don't bring a suit, I probably won't get the deal. Mm-hmm. And once they noticed I was pregnant, I figured there was no way I would get the deal. But I did. So it worked out really well. That was a big moment, but I needed to bring a
You
male
had a male
person
companion with you.
in order to make it work. And I was told by one of the gentlemen that really wanted to see me get it because of all the work that I did for them. He actually had said, bring Dominic, just bring him.
Bring your
Even
husband.
though he didn't negotiate any of the deal, I had to bring him anyways, which was fine. It didn't bother me, but it was just, that's the way it worked.
So, tell me a little bit about this business. So, you started it at a small.
Started it from scratch.
And how did that start?
$5,000 investment.
Really?
And $5,000 just for emergencies. And you just, and you know, one of the things is that anybody who's going to go into business has to realize that it doesn't come overnight. It's a lot of work. I mean, it was 7 days a week. And we would get there at 8 o'clock in the morning and leave at 10 o'clock at night. Because during the day, you're servicing your customers, and at night, you're doing all your paperwork. So it was a lot.
And then, so tell me, you built it up from $5,000 investment to what? What did it end up being?
Well, we hit about a $10 million mark.
Wow.
So
In how many years?
I think to get to the 10 million, we were in our probably 9th year at the time. You know, the first 2 years were a struggle.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, you're just trying to get business. And I was there alone, actually, for the first 2 years. Dominic kept his job. So I was there trying to cultivate the business. And then I had picked up Yale, which that was a big one. And once I picked that up, I couldn't do it alone anymore. So he needed to quit his job and start coming in. So he would come in at night and do the repairs that I would take in during the day. And he would repair everything at night, and then I would
So he was actually working another job
He worked
in the beginning.
In the beginning,
Yep.
correct. Because to take the two of us on a startup is very difficult.
Okay.
So I was there from 8 in the morning till, 10 at night. And that's,
Okay, so then what happens to the business?
well, it took off, all that work that you do. And the computer industry to this day still changes on a daily basis. So it took off. I picked up some pretty good accounts. We did retail, and we did small to medium businesses. So it was just snowballed after a while. And getting through that was tough because then the big box pushers came in.
Big box stores.
Yeah,
Okay,
and
yeah.
they were steal because they could be more competitive on price.
Right.
So getting through that part was you
now
just had to
you're
keep jumping the hurdles to go. You had to buy more, push more, so your margins would be higher, so you could be profitable.
Okay. So now you're a small business now competing with the big box stores.
Mm-hmm.
And so what was your biggest challenge?
Well, it was mainly being competitive because they would do loss leaders. That was the best. And they would give something away for cost to get somebody in the door, which is your standard marketing ploy. But what it did, it took business away. So you had to work harder to get to everything was a price level back then. If you bought $100,000 worth of computers or $200,000 or $500,000, it was all discounted at that level. So you needed to push more and get more. And so you would hire salespeople and more technicians. So it would just continue. And that's pretty much the hardest thing was competing against the big box pushers. So we became a service center more than anything. The money was always in servicing. It was always fixing the computers, always writing the service contract, because they come back. So it didn't matter if they bought it from the big box pusher, they were coming back to us for us to service them. So that was a very important part of the business, very, very important part of the business.
Okay, so what are you doing now?
Well, now I'm on chapter 2. So I decided to get out of the computer industry, and now I do real estate.
You do. So you told me before we started the show that you work for William Pitt Sotheby International Realty.
Correct.
So how did that all happen between the computers and realty?
Well, the computer business was slowing down for us because now it was going into the mass merchandisers. It's like buying a blender today.
Right.
And it was the same as TVs were when I was doing that in the very beginning. Your TVs were there, computers were turning into the same thing. It's hard to reinvent yourself, especially at my age. So I was getting ready to sell my house. And all I wanted to do was understand real estate. I always was interested in it. My kids make a joke. They can't believe I'm doing it now because every time I would go somewhere, I'd have books, the real estate books, and I'd go through houses and understand what's going on and stuff like that. And I decided to get my license, but not to sell real estate, just for an education. And once I did that, it really sucked me in. And I was approached by several people to just go and do it full time. And that was pretty exciting for me in a way because it was a complete 180 turnaround from going from computers into real estate, and definitely a good decision.
So what's important here is that you said that you didn't do it to sell,
No.
but to educate yourself.
Correct.
So you're looking about educating yourself, empowering yourself at another level,
Yes.
and learning everything that there is to know about that business.
Correct.
But then taking all the things you've done over the years, starting with customer service and your management and everything else, bringing this, empowering yourself by educating yourself.
Correct.
And really immersing yourself into really learning everything there is to know about realty.
Correct.
So, with that, you've empowered yourself at a different level.
Yes.
So, let me ask you something. Can you share any advice to a young woman today, starting out in a business or in anything that they're wanting to do? Can you give them, some ideas of what they should be doing?
It's the individual. You have to have passion. And if you don't have the passion to get into it, you're not going to succeed because it doesn't come easy. You need to sit yourself down and say, I am going to do this and I am going to put the time in to do it. And that's one of the biggest obstacles because everybody thinks just going into business is so easy. And it's not. It's a lot of work. And like you say, to empower yourself is the education. To learn not just your own industry, but learn the people, learn your competitors, learn what they're doing. There's so many things to do. And I look at some of the young women that want to do it, and it just makes me so proud that they can just get up and say, okay, I'm going to do it. And they succeed in doing it. I just think it's I wish I could see more young girls wanting to get up and do that. And they're out there. They're definitely out there. And they have so much opportunity now. So many opportunities that I didn't have back then. Today, when you go talk to a bank officer, they're not looking at you like you're some little girl. They have to have respect for you because you contribute to this society that we're in. It's wonderful. So if you have the passion to go into business for yourself, do it. Don't wait. Don't wait for the right time. Because there is no right time. There's never a right time. If you're ready, just do it. And I talk to so many women that are older too, not just the younger women that have a passion to do something, but they're so afraid to leave their job. When you're ready, you do it. You jump in and you go head first and you learn everything you can do And if you do it and you're there and you're present all the time, you'll become successful. I mean, there's no doubt about it. It's, being in business is not a part-time job. It's a full-time plus. So, yeah, that's pretty much what I could say. And, and I wish more young girls would really do it. And even women in my own age who've come across very difficult obstacles and they have to start all over again. It's not easy, but do it because it will pay off. And that independence is the most important thing, always. What I tell my girls, I have 3 girls, support yourself before you decide to go into any type of relationship with anybody. Know you can support yourself. Rely on yourself. It's important. I mean, get help from people because it doesn't hurt to help. Ask for help. That's nothing wrong with that. But make sure that you can do it. And it's kind of what I go by.
Well, Donna Vacarro, thank you so much. And this is what's important. Passion.
Very.
Independence.
Very.
Empowering yourself through education. And don't be afraid to take the chance of doing it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. Donna Vacarro, it's been great. Thanks for being at Let's Talk with Marcel. And till we meet again, thank you. Let's talk.